Hey neighbor, welcome back to the Island of Misfit Noise. This week's SOS is a continuation of the video I made about out-of-place songs on classic albums, so let's keep the hamster ball rolling on this jumbo-size episode of 17 on Sunday. This isn't the typical list of bad songs on a great album. Some of these do suck, but my goal was to round up a posse of outcast tracks that in some way betray the rhythm, flow, or concept of an otherwise classic album. Be sure to save my out-of-place Spotify playlist below, hit the like button for good luck, and take a second for yourself, breathe in, breathe out, and know that these are just my opinions, and even if you don't agree with them, I promise they cannot hurt you. Slandering the name of Escape is probably something Metallica themselves have done even more than their own fans, especially if your name is James Hetfield. Yeah, there's plenty of understandable shade thrown at the ill-suited track from their second album, but it's generally understood why it's there. Metallica's label wasn't convinced they could get them on the radio, which was a death sentence in the 80s, hence the origins of writing Escape, which is a much more positive than usual anthem that shows up right in the middle of an intense thrash metal album.
Can't be the
Turnstile's dreamy take on punk rock is tastier than a popsicle on a 100-degree pool day. But one song strikes me is not like the others in a way that briefly tanks the album's nonstop feeling. Alien Love Call features vocals from Dev Hynes, aka Blood Orange, and is a pretty hazy, redundant piece that doesn't really fit with the vibe of the overall record. The shoegazy undertones of this 35-minute riff fest usually feel right at home on Turnstile, but here they fell short with a skippable moment stuffed in between two absolute units, those being the smoldering Fly Again and the rowdy Wild World.
His wound is bleeding day and night.
A childhood friend introduced Jeff Buckley to the traditional hymn Corpus Christi Carol, so to thank him back for his inspiration early in life, he recorded his own very falsetto-heavy take on a piece that dates back to the 14th century. The beautiful way he lets a song simmer until it boils over is an art form. Except for this 3-minute carol that almost never fails to elicit a skip each time I revisit his only album, Grace. Wake Me Up When September Ends is the only song on the rock opera American Idiot that doesn't continue the album's lore, so it's easy to see it as the odd man out. Billy Joe Armstrong wrote this song about his father's death in an attempt to cope with the loss and reconcile the years gone by without him, originally intending it for the compilation album Shenanigans, but later deciding that he wasn't emotionally ready to record. It's hard to imagine the album without it, but part of me wishes it had been a standalone single or something, so the album didn't have that one rogue moment that didn't continue the overarching story. Religious allegories are all over Brand New's overlooked masterpiece Daisy. From the excerpts of pastoral preaching to the singing of hymns, they craft an unnerving mood that still echoes and reverberates the hallways of my head. Be Gone unfortunately drags things down, with its 90 seconds of bluesy chaos showing up directly at the halfway point of the album. I love this group's chaotic side, but the chopped up, heavily distorted vocals from Jesse Lacey don't do a damn thing outside of arousing irritation and giving a heavy incentive to skip on over to the next track's sync.
When there's a riot going on, 'cause it's student demonstration time.
Dreamlike production, inventive takes on classic tropes, and as we can always count on, Mike Love being a total douchebag. Yes indeed, it's the Beach Boys post-Pet Sounds blending the best of both worlds, minus one major caveat. Their album Surf's Up rode the wave in 1971, and right smack dab in the middle of an enjoyable vibe, we get to Student Demonstration Time, a vehicle for Mike's conservatism to go off the rails, as he calls the students protesting against the Vietnam War rioters. No, that couldn't be Mike Love. He just always has the most rational, grounded takes. He couldn't be siding with the same law enforcement that killed 4 in Ohio. There's an interesting Apple TV Plus series about 1971 in music that I recommend watching for more context, but for the sake of brevity, let's just say this wasn't a situation where I could ever empathize with someone playing devil's advocate, and that's exactly what I feel Love did on this agonizing mistake. Too early to call it a classic? I beg to differ. Dua Lipa's Future Nostalgia will go down as one of the best pop albums of the decade, full of non-stop bangers, from Levitating to Hallucinating Cool, until we get to that final song that stops the bop train in its tracks with an unnecessarily sour note. I know some of you would scream at me and say Good in Bed is just as out of place as Boys Will Be Boys, but at least that song fits with the lighthearted tone of the album despite its kind of silly repetition. Boys Will Be Boys and Girls Will Be Women is sung ad nauseum over an ill-fitting atmosphere of strings that doesn't really serve Future Nostalgia well at all, as its preachiness reeks of virtue signaling.
Pretty Penny was her name. She was loved and we all will miss her.
Pretty Penny is a lovely acoustic-driven song, but looking at it in the context of the grunge machine Purple, it fits in like a professor at a college frat party. Scott Weiland delivers the tender moment with expertise beyond what they were really doing at the time, and if it's any consolation, that's really a huge compliment because STP just kept getting better, and it probably would have been more at home on Tiny Music rather than Purple.
Thursday, I don't care about you, it's Friday, I'm in love.
Wish was my full album introduction to The Cure, and baby, I will always love you, but you know that one time when you went all in on the pure pop cheese? Total out-of-pocket moment that probably would have felt a lot more natural as a non-album single. Robert Smith is no stranger to pop melodies, but euphoric expressions of love pop? Yeah, that's a shake-up even for an album like Wish that wasn't nearly as moody as some of their previous records. My heart is unable to hate a pop song that's constructed with this immaculate level of care. It's just the strange, odd-man-out inclusion on the band's 1992 gem. If you're looking for a heavy-handed, unhinged take from Trent Reznor on late 90s celebrity worship, Starfuckers Incorporated is all you. Somewhere deep in the void, a glitch of madness must have short-circuited, resulting in a downward spiral nearly 90% of the way through the very long industrial rock renaissance, The Fragile. Starsuckers features breakbeats, crunchy vocals, and assistance from future breakout composer Charlie Clouser in tow with some heavy metal guitars to make a song that kinda sounds like it's intentionally aiming itself at the credit sequence for some generic action movie. Hot Fuss might be a tad front-loaded. Okay, fine, more front-loaded than a whale on a teeter-totter. The hits are all stuffed in the first half, and they sound massive. So even for back-half album defenders like myself, who meet up monthly to discuss the merits of On Top and Midnight Show, Andy, You're a Star is an anomaly. Coming right after one of the greatest songs ever recorded, All These Things That I've Done, it's none other than a scuzzy, jealous tribute to a locker room jock at Brandon Flowers' high school that moves at the pace of a stoner snail. Plot twist? I love every second of it, and I only included this because objectively, I get the abnormalities, the complaints, the cries of, who do you even know here? But to hell with social norms, Andy is indeed a star, he's just in a different galaxy. We're really in orbit now, because the Starman is waiting in the sky with his beloved masterpiece rock opera, The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust, and also that one cover song that doesn't really work to benefit the album. Bowie decided to include a cover of It Ain't Easy, originally written by Ron Davies. It's a great cover with a lot of energy and some great vocal layering on the hook, but it kind of suffers the same fate as the Green Day track we mentioned earlier. This is the only time we fully paused the apocalyptic glam punk story in favor of a side quest. Even the production feels different. Not bad, but different in the sense that you could easily pick it out as the one in the lineup that's not from the same planet.
I was in the kitchen, Seamus was outside.
Pink Floyd conjured a progressive, easygoing spirit on metal that slowly stirred the pot to the point of a simmer, taking their time through the ethereal Pillow of Winds and the jaunty Saint-Tropez before arriving at a weird track even by Floyd standards. Seamus saw this revolutionary group miking up Man's Best Friend while David Gilmour haphazardly sings a blues tune about a dog. It's kind of funny, but also totally offbeat considering the epic 23-minute Echoes comes immediately after a 2-minute joke song. Hey, if you like the sound of dogs whimpering and barking over an acoustic slide guitar and think it's a genius move, be my guest. But the band themselves have even said years later that it was an inside joke that didn't really land.
Bugs on my window, trying to get in.
I'm not the biggest Vitology lover on the block, but Out of Place is out of place, with bugs being the unwelcome intruder equivalent of ants at a family picnic. Eddie Vedder was understandably paranoid after the success of 10 and Versus put millions of eyes on him and his band, so I think that sort of explains why he's rambling on about bugs being everywhere, but also not really, because it's a really dumb and really unpleasant mess.
It's the school where you go to learn how to butt fuck. It's in England. They don't have blowjobs there.
That's gonna make zero sense if you've never heard Pink's Cellphone, and I say good, now you understand the level of confusion every Deftones fan felt on their first time. Hearing a disturbing, never-ending slow waltz to the finish line, Chino Moreno exits stage left in exchange for an X-rated monologue by their friend Annie Hardy, who recorded this impromptu in the studio, never imagining that it would somehow make it onto this beautiful shoegazing record in the most irritating way imaginable.
Oh, Daddy, if I could make you see.
Well, Oh Daddy from Rumors might end up being my most controversial pick on the list. It's a simple confessional ballad that's way too on the nose when stacked against the clever lyricism of its peers. Not to say that this is bad or a huge low point for Rumors, it's just not worthy of endless replays in the way that Secondhand News, Dreams, or really any of the other classic tracks are. Even though I'm not super keen on this one, I cannot deny the timeless perfection of the late Christine McVie's 1 in a Million vocal, as her voice is what makes Oh Daddy enjoyable, even if it's weaker by comparison.
I wanna laugh myself to death with a misfit, and that's with a big configuration. I'll hold the line while you gasp for breath.
Yeah, that's right, Axel. Tell off those fucking haters. So what you show up 2 hours late to the gig, out of breath and out of time. It's your world, and we're just knocking on Evan's door to get in the ring.
Why the hell did I sublet my garage to this guy? Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 are not what I would call peak Guns N' Roses, but to many, they represent the last breath of magic and what would ultimately be the demise of hard rock's biggest player. There's several canker sores in the track list, but nothing can prepare you for the first time sitting through a 76-minute album full of glorious shredding, a few missteps, sure, macho vocals, heated political debates, only for it to end on the biggest ego-tripping train wreck of the 90s.
Hey, knock it off! I don't pay $69 a month to hear these GNR lies!
You can't convince me this wasn't the prototype for Fred Durst's entire career, because Axl is quite literally just yelling at the mic while tripping on shrooms while some barbarian synth drags the lake. And it's just as delusional as it is hilarious. Alright, that's a wrap on this episode of SOS. Don't forget to catch up on part 1 with 17 more songs right here. Drop a comment with more songs that I should feature if I do a part 3. I appreciate you guys watching. Subscribe, follow my Instagram for more music chatter, and I'll see you in the next one.